Welcome back to the Bars2Chains podcast. First and foremost, before we get into today's episode, I just want to give a special shout out to all of our beloved sponsors out there. First and foremost, Anchor, the app that we've been talking about since day one, is still the best app to use for your podcasting needs. Just so I can kind of go briefly over what this app gives you and this website gives you access to for your podcast is, first and foremost, as we all love the beloved F word, it is free. No charge. And to boot, the creation tools that they give you on here is one of a kind. I mean, it allows you to be able to post your podcast to multiple platforms in the touch of a button, and it alerts you once your podcast is ready to be posted to those outlets, so that way you're always in the loop of what's going on with your podcast. Now, the other part of podcasting that some people, tend to love to try and get to is making money off of it, which you can using this app, so long as you give yourself a positive message about their awesome streaming services and posting services. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Also, last but not least, it's everything you need in a podcast in one place, just like I had kind of gone over here. It's so much so a positive app that you always want to have in your corner. And the app's awesome. You can use it from your computer. There's unlimited access to it. So really it's at the touch of a button and you're already on there, working on your podcast. And that's what we do here on the Bars2Chains podcast. Our last sponsor but not least is Lashes by Yachty, which is a positive person that puts for her clients always before everything else. For all my male friends out there, if you have a girlfriend or a significant other that you would like to get their lashes done, this is the person for you. She will make sure she gets your appointment in as soon as possible and with the best of convenience to what you need done. Also, her pricing is very, very great, and you can private message her on Facebook, Instagram, or call her business number as well. If you look it up on Facebook, it is Lashes by Yachty. Yachty is spelled Yadii. Again, guys, something you definitely want to hop onto. But for the rest of today's episode, we hope you enjoy. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 4th episode of the Bars2Chains podcast. We have someone back with us today that we haven't seen for quite a bit since episode 1. We have my awesome co-host Joseph Luna. Joe, how are things?
Everything's going good. Happy to be back.
All right, let's get into it. So today, like all other episodes, we are going to be getting into a little bit of controversy, and what better to do it than the kings of controversy. We are going to talk a little bit of artists today. More importantly, we are going to compare them and contrast. And we're really just going to pick our favorite, and then we are going to give you our opinions on which one we favor most. So to kick off this awesome podcast today, we are going to first get into A$AP Rocky versus Joey Badass. Me and Joe picked out this roster of lineups that we have coming through because we always tend to get on the opposite sides of these arguments of which one we prefer more than the other. And as we go up the ladder, we're going to get more controversial and bring up some bigger names. So if you guys feel that this one's controversial, wait till you hear the rest. So let's go ahead and let's hear which one Joseph prefers.
Well, of course, I'm going to go Joey. I remember when 1989 first came out. I think 1989. Was it 1989 or was it 1999? It was one of the two. 1999. I remember when that first came out, and I just felt like him and Capital C's brought back that it from as far as New York rappers go for the new era. And yeah, like A$AP Rocky, what's crazy is that they're both East Coast, so it's good that we brought them both up.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I'd have to take Joey.
See, I am a big A$AP Rocky fan. I appreciate his music from his mixtapes all the way up to his albums, and even the collaborative albums that he has with the A$AP Mob. I like the idea of his, how would you say it? I like the idea of his creativity between all projects. Like, not all projects sound the same, you know? And I think that's why I appreciate him more. I do have a love for Joey Badass, but it doesn't really run as deep as it would be for A$AP Rocky. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just me, but I just, like I said, I kind of have that feeling that, you know, there's just more to his catalog, I would say. And I mean, I've been a big A$AP fan, even dating back to the Live Love A$AP mixtape. It just, you know, he's got some bangers that I appreciate, you know. I mean, and it just kind of, it's hard to replicate that. Nowadays, he's still even, you know, kicking some good artistry. I think his last drop was Testing back in 2018.
See, I didn't.
Go ahead.
It was good, but I feel like what was Joey's last album? All American Badass.
He actually had just dropped recently.
Oh, the Light Pack. Yeah, that was just a little three.
Yeah. I was gonna say we covered that in episode 3. We gave like a little brief topic about it.
I loved it. Did you like it?
Yeah. No, I liked it a lot.
I loved it. There was a lot of diversity in it, like what is it called? The Shine.
Yeah.
But that's like, I've never heard Joey rap like I've heard him rap like that, but like I feel like he's just, I feel like he evolves every time, cause like his rapping just gets better as he's gotten older.
Yeah.
And I could appreciate that. Like,
so you had kind of already mentioned his debut album. How well or how familiar are you with that 1999 project?
I'm pretty familiar.
Okay. Because I'm pretty familiar with A$AP's technical debut album, which was Long Live A$AP back in 2013, which is only a year apart from each other. So I would like to try and, you know, break down their you know, discography, more so to speak.
See, then Joey also has the Beast Coast collab album. Like, they have the Cozy Tapes, the 2 volumes. It's called Escape from New York, where he has Kirk Knight, Flatbush, Nick Caution. I forget their names all the time. I actually went to the concert. Yeah, amazing. They yeah. It was. Yeah.
So, I mean, okay. So I'll let you kind of break into 1999 and just kind of give your idea behind it compared to. Even so today, that is my favorite A$AP project, which is Long Live A$AP.
That's your favorite? My favorite's probably All American Badass or Badass.
Yeah, and you know, that's it. It just kind of, they're so different. You know what I mean? Like, they're not a lot like the other, and that's why I like to compare this one, because this one seems like it goes a distance.
Like Joey's rapping as they were coming up was a lot more of that boom bap type. It was more of that boom bap type rap, where he's like, the beat's not as hard, but his rapping is just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I get you.
His rap, like, the beats weren't amazing back then, but like, he would just rap so hard that the beats didn't matter. To me, that's how good of a rapper he is, you know? Yeah. Like, the beat doesn't have to be the best for him to show his best. Yeah. Which is something I could appreciate.
See, the reason why I'm rolling with A$AP Rocky on this comparison is because the debut album to me was so good that I just kind of like, it hit me different. It almost kind of put me on that type of rap music. You know what I mean? Like, it really so kind of rocked my world, so to speak, when I heard it. Which, I mean, to me, it's because I loved, I mean, just kind of going down the whole album. The intro was hard for me. I loved the intro when I started to stream the album. And actually, it was one of those back in the day when you had to buy the albums to get. Yeah. So that was like one of those last wave of albums that I actually had purchased. And then, I mean, I loved Goldie. Goldie's beat, Knox.
Goldie's
that was
hard. Have you ever seen the video?
Yeah.
Hard.
Right. And then I loved the collaboration that he had with Schoolboy Q and that Pussy Money Weed.
Yeah.
That was solid as well. I wasn't big on the Level track. It was okay. Not the best, but I did like the Hell track with featuring Santi Gold. But it was because I love the beat, dude. And then the same thing with Pain. They kind of almost were like a yin and yang type beat.
I feel like that's the difference between older ASAP and older Joey was the beat selection, because like Joey was going for more of that the straight East Coast sound.
Yeah.
Whereas ASAP was trying to like it was East Coast in the way he rapped, but it wasn't East Coast in the beat selection, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
And then that next track was Fucking Problems, which are you familiar with the story behind that track?
No, I'm not.
So that track was actually originally in the Good Kid, Mad City album, and it was on the album, and Kendrick had taken the song off of the album because he felt that it didn't match with the rest of it. So
which is smart because it didn't.
Right. But he still valued the track as like that shit was some heat. So he gave the track, and I don't know if it's, he gave it to him or he sold it to him or however that, transaction works. But he had essentially given the beat or given the song to A$AP Rocky, and that's how it ended up on Long Live A$AP.
That song is hard. That's the only time we're going to hear Drake. One of the few times we're going to hear Drake and Kendrick together. So that's a valuable moment in hip hop, especially because like we've only got that in Poetic Justice. Like now they're beefing for like what seems like it's going to be forever. So
right. And then The Wild for the Night. I love that Skrillex. Yeah, that Skrillex take on it. That was kind of what
that's where he shows his diversity at.
Right. And that was like one of my favorite tracks on there, and it just, like I said, it is because it was so different than the rest of it, and it just like, wow, that was good. You know what I mean?
Is One Train on there?
And then One Train was back when the ciphers were big. You know what I mean? Like the ciphers were popping back then, and I mean that could have been technically classified as a cipher. You know what I mean? Like there were so many good artists on there.
Who had the hardest?
The hardest verse on there? Honestly, I probably am gonna go with Kendrick. Only because, like, the way he finishes it is like, damn, bro, like, you're going, dog. You know what I mean? Like, I would have thought that the One Train track would have been more so fitting to Good Kid, Mad City than the Fucking Problems track.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't
Fashion
know.
Killer was dope, too. I actually liked it because it was a lighter-hearted beat, and he still kind of murdered the shit with positive, or, well, not positive, but, like, with better bar spitting,
That's
like,
where he shows his diversity again.
And Phoenix and Suddenly wasn't anything I was big on, but I did like Jodi.
I loved Phoenix.
See, I did, but it just kind of seemed like another one of those like lighthearted tracks that kind of like, it just kind of got thrown on there. You know what I mean? But see, I like Jodi because I mean that like difference between that like lighter hard and then all of a sudden you get this like this hard like, oh my god, that sounds like something out of like a horror flick. You know what I mean? And he like murdered that one too. I like that Ghetto Symphony because back then that was when Gunplay was a bigger artist in the game. And then that one had A$AP Ferg on it too, and it I always treasure the A$AP Rocky and A$AP Ferg collabs, more so even with the rest of the A$AP mob.
Yeah.
And then Angels and I Come Apart, that was another good couple of tracks. And then to finish it, it was that Purple Swag remix with Bun B, Paul Wall, and Killer Kaleon.
He had a bunch of good, crazy features on there. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, and that's why I liked it. That's why, I mean, to be honest, I valued it more than I did with the Joey Badass's 1999.
Yeah.
Now, to kind of go to your side of the turf on this specific topic, Joey obviously has more albums than A$AP does, and it's tough to compare when you only have an artist like A$AP Rocky technically albums wise he only has 3, but his mixtapes are also acknowledgeable, and as well as his collaboration albums with A$AP Mob. So there's a lot to pack into that one. And I mean, even for me, I did like All American Badass. That was one of my, I think out of all of his discography, that one's my favorite and stands out the most. But like I said, I would put A$AP's Long Live A$AP over all of his catalog.
See, I would.
It's tough to compare the other ones though, because like you were saying before, I liked Testing a lot, but it didn't really feel like it was long enough, Like I felt like there was more that could have been put into it.
Yeah.
Than what we got out of it. You know what I mean?
See, I'd put All American Badass and Badass over any A$AP's.
Well, and honestly, I just didn't like the features
on what
for Testing.
Testing?
Yeah, like I like the Kid Cudi and T.I. feature that he did with the A$AP Forever remix. But
I like that one dude from the overseas. What's his name? He's like from a different country. I forgot his name.
Is it Moby?
No, not that one.
No, was it FKA Twigs?
No.
Skepta?
Yeah, Skepta.
Yeah.
That was hard. That was one of the few songs I liked.
Well, and I didn't like the Kodak Black or the French Montana collaboration. I'm not big on either of those artists. I like the Juicy J one. The Guns and Butter was a good track. And then the Frank Ocean one at the end was pretty good too. But like I said, even then though, like I still valued it. Like it wasn't as good as Long Live A$AP, and even then, like the other one, the At Long Last A$AP, I thought that one was pretty good. It seemed like he tried to replicate what he did with Long Live A$AP.
Is that the one with the Juicy J and Pimp C feature?
It was the one that had Schoolboy Q on it. It had Joe Fox, Kanye.
Yeah, that's the one.
They even had UGK on that one.
See.
Oh, and then the one with Wayne, and it had that PSD track.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or LSD, sorry. Then that was like my favorite track on that one, other than the Lord Pretty Flacco Jodi 2. Yeah, that was pretty clean. But it's like I said, I mean that's like I have a high bar for A$AP Rocky, whereas I don't necessarily have that so much for Joey. You know what I mean?
Joey.
So yeah, I mean that. So obviously, I have a little more love for A$AP Rocky. You got a lot more love for Joey Badass, and yeah. So I'm gonna go with A$AP Rocky.
The thing about the thing that separates them is that there's some times where A$AP gets out rapped, and I feel like Joey, when it's his song, he rarely gets out rapped.
Right.
And that I appreciate that, because that lets me know that you're writing down a verse and then you hear the verse. And rap is always going to be a competition. Yeah. So you're gonna rewrite it, and you're gonna perfect it to where your bars are gonna be better than the next.
Yeah.
So yeah, because like that All American Badass, like it had kind of a lot of features, but like the songs where he was by himself and he's just talking about the world today, like I appreciate albums like that. Like.
Well, if I'm gonna be
that was made in 2017, and all that shit still applies today. Yeah. This album could come out today.
Well, see, you don't think he got worked on that legendary track with him and J. Cole?
No, I don't. No. I actually preferred Joey's rapping over.
What about the one with him and Schoolboy Q?
He out-rapped Schoolboy Q too.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say about. Let me count how many songs. I have a playlist of like 600 to 700 songs, and this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 songs. Yeah. Where all like majority of it is on my playlist.
Well, so I mean, his big collaborative album was the Escape from New York one.
Yeah.
Where he had Beast Coast and Flatbush Zombies on there. Do you feel like he went track for track with everybody, and there wasn't any someone stole the show type deals?
It was him, and then the songs he wasn't on, it was Kirk Knight. Like those, yeah. It was them two that stole the whole project. Because to me, in my opinion, they killed when Left Hand first came out. Yeah. Joey killed that shit.
But see, like, to kind of go back and forth with the idea behind ASAP getting bodied on tracks, I think it was because he put better artists on there. You know what I mean? Where I think in the first, like, Joey didn't start involving bigger names until, like, his third album. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard because, like, right off the bat, I mean, Long Live ASAP was his technical debut album, and it featured, I mean, Kendrick was on there. You had Drake on there a couple of times, no? Or no, it was Kendrick a couple of times. And then you had Schoolboy Q was on there, and that was back when, like, that was oxymoron Schoolboy Q. You know what I mean? Like, that was, like, prime Schoolboy Q, you know?
Yeah.
It's tough to say he got bodied if, he was working with higher echelon artists. But to keep the show moving, we're going to go ahead and move over to Rick Ross and 2 Chainz. Very, very different artistry. I actually am on the end of with Rick Ross, as Joseph's on the end with 2 Chainz. I feel that, like, Rick Ross didn't have a lot of classics. I don't know, some people would argue that he doesn't even have one, but I like the artists that he would bring together. He honestly, like, the idea that I have behind Rick Ross is that he brings together artists that I would compare him and say he is the idea of if DJ Khaled could rap, how music would come together. You know what I mean? Like, he brings together, like, these super, dynamic collaborations, but the difference is he can actually spit on the stuff that he puts together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay. So, like, I'll kind of break into Rick Ross soon. I'll let you go ahead and get into 2 Chainz. So go ahead and give me your take on what, how you feel about his career.
So older 2 Chainz, older 2 Chainz was a lot corny. He was really corny. Yeah. And he was really, like, repetitive. Yeah. But I feel like the older he's gotten, the more he's trying to show and he's trying to rap. Yeah. So if you look at his last 2 albums, maybe 3, he really showed the rapping side of him, and that he kind of just, like, put his life in perspective. Because, like, he could have played basketball. Like, you've ever seen the highlights of him playing basketball?
Yeah, oh yeah.
But he chose the...
I think I've seen him a couple in, like, the celebrity games for the NBA, right? Yeah.
He chose selling drugs over pretty much... And he finally put that into perspective with Rapper Go to the League. Yeah. I feel like that could be a classic, but I feel like people won't put it in that, like, to me it could be, but I know that people are, like, when you talk about classics, like, people have a different meaning to it, so it's like it's hard to put it into the word classic. But I mean, I think his features are on point all the time too. I feel like back then he used to get out-rapped a lot. Recently, not really. Like, he really stepped up as a rapper, and I could appreciate that after everything being always repetitive, talking about drugs, like getting girls, like things like that. Like, he was real repetitive and then now, like, the last 2-3 albums, great features, great music. Yeah, that's why I take 2 Chainz.
So my thing with Rick Ross is that, like, yes, he's not, like, an artist that I would put like, beginning track to end track is, like, I can listen to a Rick Ross album. You know what I mean? But the collaborations and the songs that he put together for people are something that is very noteworthy. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, a lot of people, I mean, for years, even to today, will, hear Hustlin', and you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's one of those, like, oh, damn, I remember that track. You know what I mean? Like, and it still gets talked about, even today. And then, like, when you go to that second album that he had with Trilla, I mean, The Boss is one of my favorite T-Pain track features ever. You know what I mean? Like, I liked that one. It takes me back even into T-Pain's discography. You know what I mean? Like, and I have a big appreciation for it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then to kind of go up, he had the Deeper Than Rap album, which I wasn't really big on. There wasn't a whole lot of tracks on there that I can say, stood out. Maybe the Maybach Music 2 track with T-Pain, Lil Wayne, and Kanye West. And maybe even the track with The Dream. But, like I said, it wasn't really my, big talk about for Rick Ross. But I did like Teflon Don, and that's because I think that's his highlight album for me, because the track with him and Jay-Z murdered that Freemason track. And then he had the bars on that Maybach Music 3 with T.I. and Jadakiss and Erykah Badu.
Is that the one with Aston Martin Music with Drake?
Yeah, that's that's kind of where I'm going down here too. He had that Blowing Money Fast, but it's actually because I like the remix that Lil Wayne did on there that I actually appreciated the original track more.
Yeah.
But the Aston Martin Music one was obviously the heavy hitter on the Teflon Don album. But like I said, that is his highlight album to me, just because it brought out a lot of solid artists. You know what I mean? Like it brought out some heavy hitters,
I think that's the difference. Like, I could listen to Collar Grove, Pretty Girls Like Trap Music, and Rapper Go to the League. I could listen to all those song for song.
Now, see, the other one that I give its due respect is the God Forgives, I Don't album. That was, to me, it was almost as good as Teflon Don, but it just missed a couple of cues for me. So Three Kings was a big track I appreciated. We finally got that reuniting track with Dr. Dre and Jay-Z, and obviously Rick Ross on there. The 16 with Andre 3000, that was a big set, a handful of bars by Andre 3 Stack, and I appreciate it. And it's tough because I'm talking a lot of artists that were on there, but it's kind of the same conversation with 2 Chainz. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of artists on 2 Chainz stuff that is like, back then it was the No Lies with
Drake.
With Drake. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people talked about that album at that time, and it was because, Drake had a big thing on there. And I think it was even the same album that Kanye West was on, right? Was it Birthday?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know what song you're talking
So, like, I mean, and, not that that's, like, the highlight of his career, but, some people would argue that it kind of was. You know what I mean? Like, it was, like, the bigger part of his music.
See, the thing that I think separates them now, though, is that Rick Ross still, the Port of Miami too, there was mad features on that.
Right.
And Rapper Go to the League, like, there was a lot of solo tracks where 2 Chainz just was able to carry it by himself.
Yeah.
On top of that, he had great features. I think he had Kendrick on there, Lil Wayne and E40 were on the track. Just like, the features were great, but he was able to put out cohesive songs by himself. Yeah. Which 2 Chainz, when growing up listening to 2 Chainz, like, I was never able to, like, fully listen to a 2 Chainz song like that. Yeah. So it's like, I have appreciation that he grew as a rapper, Yeah. And I think that's the difference between Rick Ross and him, is that 2 Chainz was able to do solo songs and them still be great. Like, I can't listen to a Rick Ross. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I can't listen to a Rick Ross song by himself. And if I can, I'd have to look through his discography to find it, because, that's... So, the one that I do have a big appreciation for that is kind of by himself, because, I mean, the featured artist on there is actually Chris Rock, but it's just because Chris Rock's talking on there. But it's that Idols Become Rivals. The Birdman disc?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that one was like... Damn, bro. You know what I mean? Like, Ricky could do it if he wanted to by himself. You know what I mean? And even when he had that beef with 50 Cent, like, he kind of was up there. You know what I mean? Like, he's kind of giving some shots out that it's like, you could do this by yourself if you wanted to. You know what I mean?
Now he's starting to beef with Will Smith.
Is he? Over the whole Jada thing? Or
no,
what?
It's a joke.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's news to me. I'm like, damn, we had just talked over the whole Will Smith and August Alsina thing on the last episode. But yeah, no, we got like 50 seconds left on this one. So, and even with the, like you were talking about, what is it? Sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. The Port of Miami too. Sorry, I was thinking of a different name. Yeah, I mean, I could see your argument made for, it being a little more, stuffed in with names on there.
Like, that's just how Rick Ross is, though. Like, he loves to have people on songs. So, like, I can't really fault him for that because that's how he's been his whole career. Like, he loves those heavy. He loves being a part of features, and he loves making songs with basically like the whole rap game. Like,
to give an analogy, like, okay, so how I value artists that do that is, personally for you, do you like vanilla ice cream?
Not really.
Do you like chocolate ice cream?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but do you like chocolate ice cream even more when it has peanut butter or something like that in there? Like when it's mixed with something?
Yeah.
That's how I feel with artists that do that. It's
I
love the ice cream flavor itself, but I love it even more when it's got like stuff in there.
See,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it depends on the rapper though, because there is rappers like Damn, the Kendrick album.
Yeah,
it had like maybe 2 features.
Well, and a lot of them were singers. There wasn't really anybody spitting on that besides him.
I could listen to that through and through over and over again.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's just certain rappers have that type of...
Well, that's how I am with Nipsey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate Nipsey's solo tracks more than I do with the artists on there. Yeah, I get that. But, to me personally, I don't put 2 Chainz in that category. You know what I mean? Like, there's artists to me that can do it by themselves. And to me, 2 Chainz isn't one of those guys.
I think recently he's starting to become that guy. I think his next album will really say a lot.
Yeah, I get what you mean. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move up to the next bout, per se, which actually, this one's up there because we've heard a lot of... I mean, I personally have given this thought even on my own. I'm, bumping my music in the car type deal. And just kind of, they're heavily involved in my, how many tracks do I got in my playlist now? So, before all the music had come out, I'll just give you guys an idea. I have 112 hours and 10 minutes worth of music in my playlist. Like, I mean, it's...
Of T.I.?
No, just music in general.
Oh, I have... I think 5,200 songs. Yeah,
so in my Saya playlist, which you can actually find on Spotify if you guys have me on there, is 1,635 songs, and I'm still kind of working my way through artists that I'm, working into their discography,
Yeah, I have over 5,000 songs saved.
Nice. Yeah, but it's like I said, it just a lot of Jeezy and T.I. are in that mix. You know what I mean? So I kind of catch myself where I'll hear some stuff from the Recession, and then I'm getting some stuff from like Paper Trail, and I'm like, oh man, that's tough. You know what I mean? Like that's a good comparison.
That brings you back a lot,
right? So 12 minutes is on the clock now. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit of T.I. versus Young Jeezy. Or Jeezy, if you want to be up to date with his name.
Which is, I give him a lot of respect for that because not a lot of people are willing to do that.
Yeah.
So
you can't change his name wise, or
like take the young out of it.
Well, I mean, yeah, I was gonna say Jay-Z kind of did it when he did the all caps Jay-Z versus uppercase J and then AY and then dash uppercase Z.
Yeah.
It didn't really change his name, but it's tough to because I mean, when you type in Jeezy on Spotify or Apple Music, you're like, Young Jeezy. You know what I mean? Nowadays, it's kind of like with the game where, the game was the game and then it became just game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I mean, that makes perfect sense. I get that. It's a bold move because, I mean, some people familiarize with you as more of what your name is.
Yeah.
But so... I personally, my dog in this fight is T.I. Who's yours?
I got Jeezy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, do tell me why you like Jeezy more.
I feel like a lot of artists, he's grown. Okay. He's grown up. We watched him grow up. I think you say the same thing about T.I. too. This is why it's such like a fair matchup, I'd say, than the other ones because I remember when T.I. was making... what's the song about 24s?
That was trap music. It was that 24s cars and yeah.
We seen him go to that to make in what's his last album?
This most recent?
Yeah.
It was technically he. Oh no, never mind. Sorry, that's not an album. Technically it was Dime Trap.
Dime Trap. What was the one before that?
It was
the one with Anderson .Paak on it.
I believe it was Paperwork.
Is it Paperwork?
Well, he had a mixtape. It was Us or Else, Letter to the System, but I believe that was more of a mixtape. But yeah, it was the Paperwork had all about the money with Young Thug on it, and then it had a Private Show with Chris Brown. It had that everyone hates that track now, but that No Mediocre with Iggy Azalea. And then it had it had that track with Rick Ross on there, You Can Tell How I Walk. And it even had Nipsey on there with about My Issue. It had actually a pretty decent amount. The one with Anderson .Paak that you're thinking of is actually Dime Trap. It was that At Least I Know.
Yeah, so that's what it's called, Dime Trap.
Yeah.
See, like,
It even had Jeezy on there.
I have an appreciation for that album a lot because that's probably my favorite T.I. album.
Yeah.
But as far as Jeezy, like, when he dropped, do you remember Seen It All?
Yeah.
When him and Jay-Z got on that?
Yeah.
I was like, there's very few times where I think a rapper hangs with Jay-Z when Jay-Z is featured. Because Jay-Z's like...
So, what's your favorite Jeezy album? Because I'm actually a huge Jeezy fan.
Favorite Jeezy
Young
album?
Jeezy's like one of my...
Probably The Recession.
Yeah?
Probably.
See, and I liked the... was it the Motivation 101? That first installment of all those albums. To be specific, one of my favorite tracks, or actually, sorry, it wasn't the first one. It was the Let's Get It Thug Motivation 101 was the first one, but the Inspiration was my favorite out of that one. Due to the fact that I liked that he didn't feature a lot of artists on there. Like, he had the R. Kelly feature on there. He had the Timbaland one. But, like, a lot of them were singers. He even had T.I. on that one, and I actually felt that, T.I. had kind of almost got him on his own track.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I have a big love for that album because that Streets on Lock was a solid track. I was actually just listening to The Realist on the way up here. And he murdered that as well. But like I said, I mean, it's just, you know what I mean? Like, it's tough because I feel like I get more out of T.I. than I do Jeezy,
Yeah, and I'm just the opposite. I feel like I get more, like, I hear the Pressure. Did you listen to Pressure? His last album he dropped?
Jeezy? Yeah. Well,
like
so
Kodak.
The last one I heard is actually his... It was supposed to be technically his retirement album, which was Thug Motivation 104.
Yeah, see, he dropped Pressure in 2017, and that had, like, Kodak, YG, it had T Grizzly. Like, he was basically, like, I don't know.
He even had 2 Chainz on there.
Yeah, that album, I love that album. But
yeah, he even had a Cole and Kendrick on there. Yeah. I might need to go over that one again. I might have missed that one.
Yeah, and then, like, I feel like the features were great. He didn't really get, like, American Dream with Cole and Kendrick. Of course, you're gonna get out rapped. I mean, Kendrick is.
Yeah, and he actually had just released one this year. The 2020 Pyrex Vision.
Yeah, I haven't heard that yet.
Came out in March.
See, like, there's a bunch of albums that I haven't got to this year. So.
Well, it surprised me because, I mean, at the end of Thug Motivation 104, he actually had announced his retirement. And even on Twitter, he was like, I'm done.
What's his name just recently retired, and I don't believe it. No, Logic.
Oh, yeah. Well, did he just drop?
No Pressure, yeah. He said that's his last album, but I don't believe it. Yeah.
Nah, yeah. I was going to say he'll be back, too. that dude loves music too much, man.
Yeah.
But so to kind of go to my neck of the woods here, I appreciate T.I. because it just, the albums they just are different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From like trap music all the way up to, I mean, my two favorite albums by him were Trap Music and Urban Legend. And I mean, more so because one of my favorite all-time tracks ever was Motivation. It's kind of one of those, like, every artist has that, like, track that they're kind of going at everybody. You know, like Kendrick had the track that he had
on Big Sean's album.
Yeah.
The Control Verse.
Yeah, the Control Verse, that was his. Eminem had Till I Collapse. You know, there's a lot of artists that do that. You know, I think even Lil Wayne had You Ain't Got Nothing on the Carter 3.
Yeah.
Where you're just kind of like, you know, everyone can get that work. You know what I mean? Like, and that was kind of his, and I appreciated it a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I loved it. And even, like, going down that album in general, I loved the ASAP track. You Don't Know Me was obvious, you know, that was another banger back then. Oddly enough, though, my favorite track on there was actually Freak, though. Like, not a lot of, like, I throw that track on there, and some people be like, what is this? Like, you know, like, it kind of like, they don't know that era of T.I., you know what I mean, where he was working with Pharrell, you know what I mean, like, it's just kind of like, you know, it's a different time era, you know what I mean?
And that's the one thing that T.I. does have over Jeezy, is that a lot of Jeezy stuff is repetitive, like, same kind of flows, same kind of...
Well, he never really broke out of, like...
his shell, like, he didn't expand, he never expanded, and T.I. did expand.
You can only go so far if you're talking about trapping every album.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not every song is like that, because he does have good storytelling music, but, like... You know, I kind of got tired of it. I mean, I love Jeezy. You know, that he's one of my favorites of all time. But you know, I kind of get more out of T.I. You know what I mean? Like, different type of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, there's just different levels to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can understand that.
Now, the King album I liked it. I didn't like it as much as I liked the first two. But yeah, I mean, it. You know, neither here or there.
Yeah.
T.I. versus T.I.P. Was another kind of one of those slept on, I felt like, because Big Shit Poppin' I like that track a lot.
Yeah.
The track with him and Jay-Z was solid. And obviously, as some people have come to know me on here, I do have an appreciation for Eminem, so the Touchdown feature with him on there was pretty solid. Now, to kind of go up further...
Didn't he have another one on another album?
With Eminem? Yeah. So I'm going to kind of get into that one here in a little bit. Paper Trail was his claim to fame. That was his technical biggest album as far as a marketing scheme. So, you know, there was that one. I that one, that's one of my favorites, but it's too hard to break that album down going track by track because it was really good. You know what I mean? Like, it was solid. And I think that was his album fresh out of prison, right? Like, that was like his dropped it as when he's getting out. You know what I mean? Like, so to speak, his the Carter 3 type deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then No Mercy was another one of those underappreciated, and that was the one that we were talking about. That's All She Wrote with Eminem.
He has a couple of Dream features in there too.
So yeah, that track that he had with the Dream was that No Mercy.
Was there two of them, or is there only one?
I want to say there was just one. Yeah, it was just one because the one that he had at the end was that Castle Walls. That was my favorite track on there. Was Castle Walls.
I feel like that's the first time you saw like the. I don't know how to like word it, but like the slower like the send a message T.I. Like he's actually sending messages in his rap. Yeah, which I appreciated. That's actually probably my favorite album from all of his bodies of work. Yeah, to kind of speed through, so we make sure we save the best for last. The Trouble Man, Heavy as the Head, was another one of those big projects that I liked because I liked the work that he did with A$AP Rocky, Lil Wayne, Andre. And then That Wonderful Life with Akon, because he just seemed like he was really reflecting life. Oh, and then G Season with Meek Mill, but it just kind of seemed like he was really kind of giving an insight to his life. You know what I mean? Like all the legal trouble he had gotten into, losing his friend Doe B. You know, all the
all the crazy stuff that had gone on, and just his, his path with, trying to stay out of trouble,
Yeah.
And it really gave you an insight look at how he felt towards his life, and then even, working up to Dime Trap, where he talks a lot of his issues with his, are they still together, Tiny and T.I. still a thing, or?
I don't think so.
But yeah, he kind of talked the whole separation with them, and really breaking down his life, his love life.
My favorite song by T.I. is off the Dime Trap.
Yeah.
Amazing Mr. Fuck Up.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite song by T.I. just because not a lot of people are willing to admit when they fucked up.
Own their mistakes, yeah.
And he made a whole song dedicated to that.
Yeah.
So like I appreciate that song a lot. That's a song I go back to. It's like it's not a song that you necessarily could bump, but I'll bump it,
Yeah. Well, and I liked the More and More with him and Jeezy. That was I liked that they brought back that old, like, people used to compare them, and
they're a duo that should make a
collaborative album. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I can see it. Unfortunately, T.I. is, as of right now, beefing with 50, so I don't know how soon we'll get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Anyway, so let's go ahead and move up. One thing we want to break into a little bit before we move on to the final bout is Kid Cudi and Travis Scott. Very comparable in terms of vibe music. Very different types of style, but they kind of categorize themselves into that, you put them on when you want to turn your lights down low.
Travis Scott is influenced by Kid Cudi a lot, so you could hear it in his music.
Yeah. So on this one, you prefer Travis Scott. I'm more of a Kid Cudi kind of guy. And I think that's because Kid Cudi's debut album, it just resonated with me as classic material. The Man on the Moon was the first one, I should say. Really kind of hit home. It was a different style of music that I had ever heard when it first came out.
He was very introspective of his life and what he went through. So like you really got to see who Kid Cudi was.
Well, and I liked even just the interludes. I mean, having Common, it was almost like a book. You know what I mean? Like it kind of felt like you were being read someone's life. You know what I mean? Like I just kind of felt like different about it. You know what I mean? And then Man on the Moon 2 was another solid one. But go ahead.
Yeah, Travis is more of like a feature heavy artist.
Yeah.
He's really feature heavy, but I like his ear for beats. I feel like he has a good ear for knowing who should be on what song.
Yeah.
Even if the matching doesn't make sense to the public eye, he makes it work just because of his ear. I feel like he has a good ear for music in general.
Yeah.
Like Birds in the Trap, Sing McKnight. I love it. Astro World I think it's a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can make an argument that Man on the Moon is a classic. I'm pretty sure it is considered a classic at this point.
Now, see, the reason why I actually am vouching for Kid Cudi a little more is even with the EP that he did with Kanye. Like that.
Yeah.
It rejuvenated his whole, almost kind of like his whole career. You know what I mean? Because for a couple albums there, like, people were concerned that Kid Cudi just wasn't, like, mentally healthy. You know what I mean? Like, and it kind of, like, was almost that spark that he needed, and then he just did that track with Eminem. I liked it.
And you could tell that Kanye put a lot of thought into that one, too. Yeah. Because if you hear the Tiana Taylor album, like, there was a lot missing from that. Like, the Pusha T album, amazing. I thought Ye was amazing. Then you get
the one with Nas.
The Nas one was like, like he could have done a lot better.
Yeah.
The beat, and then the one with Cudi. Yeah. Amazing. So you get out of the 5 albums he dropped, that was probably one of the better ones that dropped. I think Pusha T's is first, and then Ye and that one are kind of like battling each other. Yeah. In my opinion, but.
So we will go ahead and move on to the last but not least. This one has caused controversy for decades, and we will pack out the last about 15 minutes of this episode into this one, which is Jay-Z versus Kanye West. Man, this is so hard because it's like pulling teeth trying to compare one to the other without feeling like you slighted the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially because I mean their whole brotherhood starting out the gate, you know, makes it hard to pick between one or the other. But as time progressed, you know, obviously their situation, what it stands at today, is you know, you can start making the comparisons now because they're not really so much so on that brotherhood concept. They've kind of taken different paths in life, you know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, well, not necessarily unfortunately, you know, but you know, it kind of has taken a riff into their music making. You know, you don't really get so much of the albums anymore like you used to. You know, you kind of get more, they're involved with projects and they are more chasing political. For Kanye, it's political ambitions, and then for Jay-Z, it's wanting to be a mogul in sports. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which he's doing an amazing job. I think that's like, we're not comparing what they're doing now, but if we were to compare it, Jay-Z's up here and Kanye's down here, but we're comparing slowly music, so that's where it's like.
See, and I think that's why I have an appreciation for Jay-Z a little more before we jump into their music, is that Jay-Z is trying to pave the path for the future generation.
Yeah.
You know, whereas some could argue that Kanye's kind of still trying to make a bang for his own buck rather than laying the foundation for future artists to come.
Yeah. You know which, I mean Jay-Z just signed Kevin Durant to his sporting label or sporting agency, and it's like,
what is it, Rock Nation?
Yeah. It's like he has one of the better WNBA players, Skylar Diggins. Like,
well, he even had a big deal with the whole with Meek Mill's new label.
Yeah,
I don't know if he co-signed on it or what the deal was. But
when Kaepernick was going through all that, Jay-Z's the one that got him pretty much set up that whole thing, didn't he?
Yeah, no, the training day thing.
Like, Jay-Z, as far as like, if we're not talking sports, Jay-Z's up there. Like, Jay-Z's an icon in sports, in music. Like, he's just different, man. Like, he's just different.
No, I agree. All right, so let's kind of break into this big old monstrous stuffed in pizza, if you want. I mean, there's just so much to unpack in this comparison because there's like so many different eras of these artists that, you know, it's hard to compare.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So Kanye, his debut album. Well, actually, you know what? Since you're on the we obviously gotta pick and choose our sides here. So I'm on the fence of Jay-Z. You're on the fence of Kanye. Yeah. So give me your analysis on Kanye, and I'll give mine on Jay-Z, and then we'll kind of play good cop, bad cop, and switch sides.
He started a wave of artists. Like, a lot of these newer artists are influenced by Kanye. Mm-hmm. And he really, like, he was a rapper, but he was doing rap a lot differently.
Yeah.
And he basically just, like, when College Dropout came out, you heard nothing like that. Like, there was nothing out that was like that. Then you go to 808s and Heartbreak. There's nothing. Like, he made his own sound, which is, like, people were like, what is this?
Yeah, yeah.
And now it's, like, people look back at it, and it's like, this dude started in an era before an era even started. So it's like, you know.
And you know, he kind of had that Michael Jordan complex to him where he almost kind of called his shot. Like, he knew this was going to take off.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people felt like it was. You know, I mean, if you listen to really a lot of people listen to the actual song version of The Last Call. But if you listen to the story behind it, it's like he really advertises like nobody believed in this shit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it wasn't until he started producing a lot of Jay-Z's biggest hits that people were like, damn, this dude is a hell of a producer. But, you know, like, no one really thought that this guy could also spit. You know what I mean? Like, he's got some good punchlines.
What's crazy about Kanye too is people see the crazy side of Kanye, the blonde hair Kanye, like the weird Kanye, but people don't know, like, he used to be normal. He used to be
I was just talking about that to somebody the other day. Like they're just like, yeah, the Kardashians changed him, and I'm like, actually, he's been kind of crazy since even the Amber Rose days. You know what I mean? Like he kind of it. I mean, if you want to really go back to what changed Kanye after his mom passed away, like, you know, he just kind of took a little bit of a tailspin. You know what I mean? And it hurts me because it's like, damn, you know, I wouldn't know what I would do without my mom. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's easy to judge people based on how, you know, people die every day. You know, that's kind of the common saying. But you can't speak for somebody that maybe you haven't felt that loss. You know what I mean? And I mean, not that nobody has lost their mother, because I'm aware that people have, you know, obviously moved on. And, you know, not necessarily even maybe moved on, but have, you know, carried on a legacy. You know, but it's different when the lights are all on you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you don't get that luxury of, well, I'll just, you know, kind of not talk to people for a couple of years or a month or however long it takes you to get over that, something like that.
And it's hard to find motivation when you lose something like that. Like, a lot of people, like, I'll take Matt Barnes, for instance. Yeah. He lost his mom when they were playing the We Believe Warriors. Yeah. And it took him a while to get over that chapter in his life. Same thing with John Wall recently. His mother passed, and like, it's hard to like be a big like, the spotlight is on you, like you were saying, as far as like music, as far as sports.
Yeah, you don't get the luxury of like
you got to go out. Like, if I mean, of course you could say I don't want to play, but at the end of the day, like,
it's costing you thousands. Yeah.
So you're gonna go out there and play, and you got to find motivation, and sometimes that's hard, you know.
So, what is your favorite Kanye album?
My favorite one, 808s and Heartbreak. Yeah? Yeah.
I mean, people say that set the wave for the new artist. You know, that one kind of brought out the...
That one, I would have to say it's a tie between that one and My Dark Twisted Fantasy. Yeah. Those are my two favorites.
So my blatant favorite is The College Dropout, because when I think of Kanye, that's what I think of. Yeah. But if I'm going to have a second runner-up, because, you know, there is a handful of albums to pick from, I'm with you on the My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. That is my... it was so underappreciated. And it really was. It set the bar for albums to come after that. You know what I mean? Like, people... I think that was around the time era when he kind of was, like, starting to lose it. You know what I mean? And then he cognitively had put that masterpiece together, and I think, you know...
They had one of the best Nicki verses of all time. Right, on Monsters.
Well, and I mean, even with the stuff that he did... he had Kid Cudi on there.
That's my favorite song, Gorgeous, with Kid Cudi and Raekwon. Yep. That's my favorite song.
That track, Monster, that you were just talking about with Nicki, it had Jay-Z and Rick Ross and Bon Iver on there. I actually liked the So Appalled. That was kind of that cypher.
Oh, with Sahai the Prince.
Yeah, it had Jay-Z, Pusha T, Shy the Prince, and I think it even had Swiss Beats on there.
Anytime Pusha T and Kanye get together, I feel like it's greatness. Those are...
Well, and then the Runaway track with Pusha T. Yeah. That was like the most simple but hardest beats ever. It had that ether vibe to it. You know what I mean? Like,
but I'm kind of biased with that, though, because Pusha T is one of my favorite artists. Yeah. But, I mean, every time they get together, I feel like they don't miss. They're that duo that just, they don't miss. They're one of those duos that just don't miss.
Right. So, I got your perspective on Kanye. So, here's my thing with Jay. Is Jay-Z has a longer history in the game than Kanye has. And essentially, a lot would argue that without Jay, we wouldn't have Kanye. Or maybe we would, but he might have came out through a different label and the sound would have been different. You know what I mean?
Without Jay-Z, there's no Kanye. Without Kanye, there's no Travis Scott's. There's no Little Uzi Vert's.
The family tree, yeah.
There's no, there's nothing... Jay-Z and Kanye have, like, basically, like, created this era in a way.
They created a dynasty.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's funny because, you know, the dynasty is obviously, you know, a reference back to Jay-Z's days, but it really did. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of artists that wouldn't have came through had it not been for... I mean, even with Jay-Z, J. Cole would have never been up there. You know what I mean? Like, we might have not had the big the big era of Cole, or even, you know, the big era of I mean, it's for the female artists, you know, that's, you know, Rihanna, Beyonce, those type of people.
Yeah.
There's just a lot, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, even with shoot, I just forgot his name.
Big Sean, like there's
a
lot of artists. Pusha T.
No, I'm thinking of
Pharrell.
Chance the Rapper. Yeah, I mean, you know,
Even Pharrell, like
right.
Pharrell and the Neptunes. That was wasn't that Kanye?
I believe that was it was under that label. I know that because do you ever heard the story about was it it was Jamie Foxx on the Joe Rogan Experience. He was talking about, like, he used to have these parties, and in one of the parties he had Jay-Z was hanging out by himself, and then he had Pharrell there. Yeah,
I heard it on All the Smoke with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. He talks about the same story. Yeah, and that the way that they made that song with Kanye, Jamie Foxx, and Twista. Yeah, that Kanye came over and was like just played the song, and then like Jamie Foxx hopped on it, and then that's how Jamie Foxx didn't know he could sing. Like,
yeah. So I break up Jay-Z's discography in eras. So my era for, you know, his phase 1 era, if you want to call it that, is from Reasonable Doubt all the way up to Volume 3, The Life and Times of Sean Carter. And it's all those kind of sound similar, but their bars and the unpacking of what he delivered to the rap game at that time was very significant. You know what I mean? Like, a couple of my favorite Jay-Z tracks are actually in that Reasonable Doubt and in my Lifetime era. You know what I mean? Like, one of my favorite all-time tracks by Jay-Z was The City Is Mine. That track he had with Blackout. Yeah. And it's just because, like, it's just one of those, like, you take a drive at, like, 1 a.m. Yes, I do that sometimes. Take a drive at 1 a.m. and you just kind of feel like you're chasing something. You know what I mean? Like a legacy. You know what I mean? And it kind of feels like that was his track. You know, in terms of for years to come, he's going to be a problem to the game. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then, you know, obviously Volume 2 had, you know, the Hard Knock Life. That's the biggest highlight off that album. Yeah. But, you know, that's an album, our song that still pops today.
You know that he owns this. He owns a sample to that, because you know how it was Annie, like Annie. Nipsey was saying that he hit up like the people who made Annie pretty much, and was like,
they referred him to Jay-Z,
and they're like, you got to go clear the sample from Jay-Z. Like, Jay-Z owns it.
Yeah. Well, and then, you know, even to go back to the Reasonable Doubt one, I like that track Devils that had the sample from Murder Was the Case. Yeah. That was by far my hands down favorite track on that album. It just, like I said, he killed it. You know what I mean? And then to kind of go to the second phase, he had the Dynasty, the Blueprint 3, or the Blueprint 2, sorry, and then the Black Album. That was my phase 2, which to me sounded better than phase 1 because he had better production under it, and he was kicking some stuff that, I mean, some people put those albums in their top 10s for albums of all time. You know what I mean? Like, some people will... I mean, the Dynasty wasn't really big, but I liked it. I had a big appreciation for it. But the Blueprint's one of those albums that they put up there as top 10s of greatest albums of all time. You know what I mean? And then the Blueprint 2, it didn't really... It seemed like he tried to replicate what he did on the Blueprint 1, but it just kind of had that more pop feel to it. I liked it, but it just wasn't... Out of those 4, it was probably my least favorite. Yeah. And then the Black Album was one of my all-time favorite albums. It was so short, but man, did every freaking song on there. Even that little PSA that he did on there, man, like that, and I mean, my favorite track of all time was on there, which is Dirt Off Your Shoulder. Yeah. You know, I love that Timbaland beat, dude. That shit was one of a kind. You know what I mean? Like,
what album was Eminem on?
You're thinking of the Blueprint that had that Renegade.
Yeah. Who had the better verse?
M.
Yeah.
The M.
That's the only.
Nas said it.
That's the only.
Eminem murdered you on your own shit. Yeah.
That's the only time Jay-Z's ever been out-rapped, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree. Now to kind of move along to essentially phase 3 of his discography, we will see Kingdom Come, which I wasn't big on that one. American Gangster, that still kind of not big on that one. The Blueprint 3 and then Watch the Throne.
Who was better on Watch the Throne?
Honestly, in my opinion, I actually like Jay-Z better. The reason why was because he murdered every single one of those beats, whereas Kanye kind of almost seemed like he was putting down the pen so much and he was trying to make the sound perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, like, it's one of those Batman and Robin things where, in really maybe even so less of that, because, like, Kanye set the foundation for, if, I don't know if you've heard that story, but if I'm correct, I think Jay-Z at one point in time was thinking about retiring. And so when he was trying to think of his next follow-up album, which was the Blueprint 3, he told Kanye, I want you to have all control of how this album sounds. And we would have never had gotten the Blueprint 3 without Kanye.
Is that with Holy Grail?
No, that's the Blueprint 3. That's with the DOA, Run This Town, Empire State of Mind. Off that was
classic.
Drake.
So pretty much a classic.
Yeah, that was probably Jay-Z's last classic album if you don't count Watch the Throne as his own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it even had that Young Forever track on it. That's one of those that last era of CDs that I had bought. You know what I mean? Back then. Before the whole streaming services became popular like that. Now, Phase 4 for him wasn't so favorable. Magna Carta kind of didn't have that.
That's the one with Holy Grail.
Yeah. I mean, and actually my favorite track on there was like one of the smallest tracks on there. It was actually the Crown verse. Or no, sorry. It was Beach is Better. He had that funny punchline where he's like, you better look like Halle Berry or Beyonce. Because that was when him and Beyonce were having their fallout.
Yeah.
Now they, obviously they fixed it, but, that was kind of at a time era where they thought they would actually separate,
Yeah.
Now, to kind of go back, because you had that favorite track by T.I., that Mr. Fuck Up, on 444, he had that same kind of vibe where he's like, he was talking about...
Yeah, which I appreciated. I appreciated the album a lot. I would still...
I think it was on Family Feud, wasn't it? Or... It was on one of those tracks where he's like, he was talking about something about a three-way, or like, how significant is a three-way when you already have a soulmate or something like that?
Yeah.
Or it's how valuable, or is like something like that with the menage a trois when you already have a soulmate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I appreciate artists that can own stuff that people are obviously talking about. You know what I mean? Because people know what's going on, and not a lot of artists will speculate.
In hip hop, it's not a thing that happens every day. So it's like when it comes out, you have to appreciate it.
Right. And
the fact that they both made albums and then they made the joint album together, it just says a lot about how mature they were about the situation.
Right. So I'll let you kind of talk about a little bit of Jay-Z here. What was your favorite Jay-Z project? Because there's so many to pick from.
I'd say Blueprint 3. I'd have to say Blueprint 3.
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like I said, I love the Black Album more so than all the rest. I just he unpacked so much heat in so small of a project. But he also had such good creativity with the production staff that he was working with, and it just sounded so unlike every other Jay-Z album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like I said,
or the Dynasty. Now that I'm thinking about it.
The Dynasty album?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It'd be between those two.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And now, so go ahead and talk some Jay-Z real quick, because I'm actually looking for these bars that was on that album that I really wanted to kind of stand out with. So, kind of give your take on Jay-Z.
He's a legend, of course, icon. But yeah, his discography really speaks for itself. Like he's probably the best. Would you say he's the best rapper? Top 3 rapper of all time?
See, when I talk
5.
all time, I'm kind of I'm kind of at a like loss for words because there's so many all-time rappers that you feel like you're discrediting when you're talking all time.
Who would you say? Would you put him in your top 5?
I would say, as it stands today, yeah, I'd put him in my top 5.
I'd probably put him in my top 5 too.
And I mean, maybe if I really broke the list down, I might have to fit him into the top 6. But I mean, some people put him at the top of their all time.
There's a lot of people. I know a lot of rappers and all that. Jay-Z's number 1.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I've talked to a handful of people that are like, actually, I'm not even gonna bother trying to, put somebody over Jay-Z because his catalog is like better than most people's altogether. You know what I mean? Like, name me another artist that you would put their discography over Jay-Z. You know what I mean? Maybe Tupac, maybe, if you want to put together the whole...
He's like Steve Nash at the free throw line.
Right.
He just doesn't miss.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, and that's the thing. And so the line that we were talking about earlier is, what good is a menage a trois when you have a soulmate? You risk that for blue. If I wasn't a superhero in your face, my heart breaks for the day I had to explain my mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, that hit home to me because I'm like, not a lot of people know about these artists' lives. And they tend to forget that these people
and there's a lot of people that aren't rappers that cheat on their significant other,
right? And they don't
say anything. Right, and for him to put it out in public like that, it just speaks a lot about the person he is.
Right. Well, I mean, you even have the artists that are, wife beaters. They could give a rat's ass. I mean, for years, how long did it take for everyone to get an apology out of Dr. Dre? You know what I mean? Like, he had been. If I'm, looking back on history, like, he had a big issue with that, and at some point in time, I think even just recently, didn't he just apologize, like he had said, sorry to all the females that I had done that to, and that was kind of a big, bold step, but it's like kind of too far, a little too late. You know what I mean? I think even, was it Michelet that had kind of just said, I don't need your apology or something like that? It was I think it was Michelet. Yeah. And she's like, you know what? Like, I deserve that apology back in the 90s. You know what I mean? Like, what does that do now? It's 2000 and something, we're in the 10s now. You know what I mean?
We're in the 20s.
Right. Well, and I think that apology had actually come sometime around like it was sometime right after, I think, what was it, Compton?
Oh, so like 20.
Yeah. It had to have been sometime between 2015 to 2020. But yeah, no, like I said, Jay-Z's apologies to his own wife, you don't even have to publicize that on a track. You can obviously live with her, so you can apologize whenever, but he really put himself out there that, like, sometimes you need to go above and beyond to make it right.
He's basically saying he's human too. That's basically what he's saying.
Right. Now, we unpacked so much stuff today, and actually we are running a little later than we anticipated today, but that's the beauty of these podcasts, is sometimes you get into these deep conversations where you want to, really get in-depth in conversation of what you're talking about, To go forward, we did actually have some slotted up talks that we wanted to make, which... Chad Johnson and Randy Moss were on today's agenda, but I think we're going to go ahead and wait that one off until we get our buddy Haney back in the studio, and we can unpack some football. Let's talk some GOATs. We can talk quarterbacks, receivers, tight ends, the big safety talks, stuff like that. And we will be sure to get that out to you guys as soon as possible, and we will make sure you guys are let in the loop of... give us some suggestions. If you have ideas on people you would like for us to give our diagnostic on and analysis, feel free to run them by us. You know what I mean? That's the beauty of these podcasts as well, is we love our fans just as much as you love hearing us. And we will open up that line of communication from us to you. So we hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, guys. If you haven't heard the other 3 episodes, feel free to go ahead and check them out on YouTube and Spotify. And Apple Podcasts as well. We are working to get the other platforms out there to you guys in case you guys do stream on other ones. So I will make sure I get that out to you guys as soon as possible. But again, guys, thank you guys so much. We love you guys all, and stay safe out there during these troubling times. And if you guys ever need to vent or anything, even from a fan base standpoint, you feel free to write us on Facebook or Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, the whole 9 yards. Feel free to add us, and we'll always show love to our loyal and beloved fans. Again, guys, thank you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, and if you guys have ideas for future episodes, feel free to let us know. Also, real quick before we close this out, we are working on getting some merch out to you guys. We're looking at getting some masks done, shirts, and in the future, we also would like to try and get some snapbacks done for you guys. So that information will be coming out to you guys soon. Again, we hope this reaches to you guys in good health. And we will have more updates to come. Thank you guys so much. Hope you guys enjoy. Love you all.